Have you ever stopped to think about the true meaning of being rich? What if I told you that true wealth isn't about how much you have, but how you relate to it? What the Stoics teach us about this can completely transform the way we view money and life in general. Imagine living in peace without being at the mercy of financial market fluctuations or the pressure to consume more and more. Sound impossible? Well, in today's video, we'll explore an ancient philosophy that can help us find this peace: Stoic detachment. Today, we'll talk about detachment, one of the pillars of Stoic philosophy, and how it directly applies to our relationship with money. Contrary to popular belief, detachment doesn't mean living in misery or giving up everything you have. It actually means understanding that true happiness and balance aren't found in material things, but in how we manage them. Let's discover how great Stoic thinkers like Seneca and Epictetus can guide us toward a more balanced and, more importantly, more peaceful financial life. First, if you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel and leave your thoughts on the value of money in the comments. You will learn that detachment is not a renunciation of comfort or financial security, but rather a way to gain more control over your decisions. We don't need to be slaves to money or the relentless pursuit of status and material possessions. Stoic detachment teaches us that true wealth lies in living with enough, without being dominated by the constant desire for more. Let's understand together how this can transform not only your financial life, but also your inner peace. Detachment, as approached by Stoic philosophy, does not mean renouncing what we have or living a life of deprivation. On the contrary, the Stoics believed that the key to true freedom and peace of mind lay in understanding our relationship to things and not being enslaved by them. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, teaches us that what truly matters is not external things such as material wealth, but our reaction to them. He states that it is not the things themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them. This simple phrase reflects the essence of Stoic detachment, the idea that happiness comes not from possessing more, but from living in harmony with what is truly necessary. For the Stoics, everything in the world can be divided into what is under our control and what is not. What is beyond our control, such as luck, health, or the economy, should not be a source of suffering or frustration. Material possessions, for example, are not truly controllable. They can be acquired, but they can also be lost. So, what do the Stoics suggest? Detachment, which is the ability to enjoy material goods without letting them dominate our emotional life or our inner peace. This detachment is achieved through mental discipline. Rather than constantly focusing on accumulating possessions, the Stoic seeks to understand that everything external, including money, is fleeting. Detachment is not an escape from the material world, but a way of living with it in a balanced and conscious way. Stoic philosophy invites us to realize that our inner satisfaction does not depend on the amount of possessions we possess, but on our ability to accept and control our desires and reactions. A practical way to apply Stoic detachment is to reflect on what is truly necessary in our lives. Do we really need so many things to be happy? Do material things truly offer us the security or peace we seek? We often believe that happiness lies in possessing more, but this leads us to an incessant and endless search, making us prisoners of our own desires. Stoic detachment then challenges us to rethink our priorities, reduce our needs, and live a simpler and more intentional life. This concept of detachment is deeply linked to virtue. For the Stoics, true wealth lies in the virtues we cultivate: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Possessing material wealth is not wrong, but when the pursuit of it becomes an end in itself, we lose sight of what is truly valuable. Detachment, in this sense, is the key to a fulfilling life, where we seek the development of our mind and character more than the accumulation of possessions. To deepen our understanding of detachment, we can turn to the words of great Stoic philosophers such as Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. Both emphasize detachment and the importance of not being dominated by our possessions. Seneca, in his letters, states, "It is not what we possess, but how we possess it that makes us rich." Here, he reminds us that it is not the amount of material goods that truly matters, but our relationship with them. True wealth, for him, is that which we can enjoy without becoming attached to it. Another significant example comes from Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, who, in his Meditations, reflected on the ephemerality of life and possessions. He said, "Remember that wealth is not what you have, but what you know how to do with it." Marcus Aurelius teaches us that the value of our possessions should not be measured by their quantity, but by the wisdom with which we manage them. This kind of perspective helps alleviate the stress and pressure many feel to acquire more and more, seeking a happiness that never seems to arrive. These quotes help us understand that detachment is not a condemnation of material wealth, but a reflection on how we relate to it. By learning to live detachedly, we are not necessarily renouncing everything, but rather gaining a clearer perspective on what is truly important. For the Stoics, true wealth comes from the freedom of not being a slave to external things. True financial freedom lies in our ability to make conscious decisions without being dominated by the desire for more. Now that we understand the concept of Stoic detachment and the lessons of the philosophers, we can apply these teachings directly to our relationship with money. We live in a society that constantly tells us we need more money, more possessions, more status. Consumption is promoted as the key to happiness, and many fall into the trap of working tirelessly to acquire wealth, hoping that it will bring peace and satisfaction. However, Stoic detachment teaches us that, instead of seeking more and more, we should focus on what truly matters and gratefully accept what we already have. Money, like any other possession, is fleeting. We may have it now, but it could be gone tomorrow. True financial peace comes from accepting that we can't control everything, but we can control our attitudes toward what we have. When we become excessively attached to money, it ceases to be a tool and becomes an end in itself. This mindset places us in a constant search, never satisfied, always anxious. Detachment helps us have a healthier relationship with money, treating it as a tool to achieve our goals and live more comfortably, without it becoming our primary source of happiness. This way we can make more balanced financial decisions, free from the pressures of a consumerist society. Financial detachment, therefore, is a way to live with less anxiety and more clarity. Instead of chasing the latest cell phone or the latest car, we can learn to appreciate what we have and make decisions that are more aligned with our values. This doesn't mean living without financial goals or ambition, but rather living with a sense of balance and moderation. When we free ourselves from the need to accumulate more, we make room to live more fully and with less stress, focusing on what truly matters. This healthier relationship with money also allows us to make more conscious choices, such as saving for the future, investing wisely, and using money to improve our quality of life without losing sight of what's truly essential. By adopting detachment, we can transform the way we manage our finances and live a more peaceful and balanced life, without being slaves to consumption or external expectations. In the Stoic view, material wealth is considered ephemeral, meaning it is fleeting and subject to transformation. Stoic philosophy teaches us that life is marked by constant change, and everything material is subject to deterioration, loss, or even destruction. Money, material possessions, and social status are just part of a cycle that is never permanent. There is no guarantee that the riches we accumulate today will be with us tomorrow. Epictetus, one of the leading Stoic philosophers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to what happens to you that matters." This reminds us that while we may not control the loss of our material possessions, we do have control over how we react to that loss. Often, when we lose something we own, such as a house, a car, or even a significant amount of money, we feel a deep pain, as if our identity is being ripped away from us. This is because we associate our happiness and self-worth with the things we own. However, the Stoics propose that by placing our trust in material wealth, we are placing ourselves in a vulnerable position. Material wealth, no matter how desired, can never provide lasting happiness, as it is always at the mercy of luck and external circumstances. We can lose our money, be affected by economic crises, or even by poor financial choices. But if our happiness is tied to these possessions, we are doomed to a constant feeling of dissatisfaction and insecurity. The relentless pursuit of more money and material possessions can become a trap. Modern society teaches us to correlate happiness with consumption and the acquisition of wealth. However, this idea contradicts the Stoic view. According to Seneca, the greatest wealth is to live with little. For him, a life focused on the constant pursuit of more possessions is a life of suffering, as we never achieve true satisfaction. Ultimately, Stoics believe that material wealth is a fleeting good, one that may bring us temporary pleasure, but lacks the power to bring us lasting happiness. When we are deeply attached to material things, our peace of mind becomes dependent on them, and this dependence in turn places us in constant anxiety. as we cannot control all the factors that affect our possessions. Stoic detachment, on the other hand, allows us to see wealth as something we can enjoy while we have it, but that does not define our worth or our happiness. The fundamental message here is that we must learn to appreciate and enjoy material wealth in moderation, without letting it dominate us. We must be prepared to lose everything at any moment, without it affecting us deeply. True financial freedom, according to the Stoics, lies in living with enough and not depending on money for happiness. While material wealth is considered ephemeral, inner wealth, for the Stoics, is lasting and immune to external changes. True happiness, for Stoic philosophers, comes not from the accumulation of possessions, but from the development of a virtuous character. Inner wealth is what truly matters, for it is solid and resilient, regardless of external circumstances. And how can we achieve this inner wealth? Through the practice of the Stoic virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. The Stoics believe that inner peace and true happiness come from wisdom, that is, the ability to discern what is important and what is not. To live a fulfilling life, we need to focus on what is within our control, our attitudes, thoughts, and choices. Everything external, such as money or material possessions, is considered irrelevant when it comes to true happiness. As Epictetus stated, it is not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens that matters. Detachment from material wealth and the pursuit of inner richness are fundamental to a balanced and satisfying life. For the Stoics, a wealthy person is one who possesses a virtuous character, lives according to reason, and can maintain their serenity and emotional balance regardless of external circumstances. True wealth lies in our ability to deal with life's ups and downs with equanimity, unperturbed by external factors such as luck or economic circumstances. Furthermore, Stoics believe that inner wealth gives us the freedom to act according to our own reason, rather than external desires or pressures. By cultivating this inner wealth, we are able to make wiser and more balanced decisions, both in our personal lives and financially. Rather than chasing more and more money or status, Stoics suggest that we should focus on becoming better, wiser, and more balanced people. Inner wealth, therefore, is the true foundation for a successful and fulfilling life. When we can focus on what we can control, our own attitudes and choices, we free ourselves from the anxiety and dissatisfaction that arise from the constant pursuit of more material goods. This allows us to live with greater freedom and less concern about what is beyond our control. This inner wealth is also reflected in our relationships with others. By practicing virtues such as justice, courage, and temperance, we become better, more empathetic, and more balanced people. True wealth, then, is not only in our minds, but also in our actions toward others. Inner wealth is, therefore, a shared wealth which allows us to live harmoniously and virtuously, not only for ourselves but also for the society in which we live. The challenge for the Stoics is not to completely reject material wealth, but to find a balance between it and inner wealth. The idea is not to live a life of extreme deprivation or total indifference to material possessions, but rather to recognize that true happiness is not found in the things we possess. Material wealth, when well managed and understood, can be a useful tool for living more comfortably and securely, but it should not be the ultimate goal. Balance lies in not letting material wealth determine our happiness or peace of mind. We can pursue financial success. We can work to ensure a comfortable and stable life, but we must be aware that these things are not the source of our true happiness. For the Stoics, the secret lies in having enough and not letting the pursuit of more control our lives. This balance between material wealth and inner wealth also helps us face life's difficulties with greater poise. When we experience financial hardship, for example, inner wealth allows us to remain calm and serene, knowing that our peace of mind doesn't depend on our bank balance or material possessions. Instead of despairing in the face of financial loss, we can see it as an opportunity to practice the virtues of courage and resilience. As we cultivate this inner wealth, we also become more conscious of how we spend and invest our money. The pursuit of more material goods becomes less of an obsession and more of a conscious choice, aligned with our values and goals. Material wealth, when handled wisely, can become a tool for achieving a more balanced and virtuous life, without it taking the place of true happiness. Ultimately, the Stoics teach us that true wealth lies not in what we possess, but in who we are. Money and material possessions may be useful, but true peace and freedom come from our ability to live according to virtue and maintain our serenity, regardless of external circumstances. The key to a full and balanced life lies in finding harmony between ephemeral wealth and lasting wealth, always remembering that what truly matters is what is within us. One of the key lessons of Stoic detachment is the ability to differentiate between what we truly need and what we simply desire. For Stoics, the focus is on living with the essential and eliminating the excess, which can be directly applied to our financial lives. We live in a society that constantly encourages consumerism, where the desire for new products and experiences often exceeds actual needs. Reflecting on our real needs is an essential step for those who wish to live a more balanced and financially healthier life. Detachment teaches us to be more aware of what truly brings value to our lives and, above all, what provides us with genuine satisfaction. The example of a Stoic can be illustrated by Seneca's phrase, "The greatest wealth is to live with little." This little is not a form of deprivation, but rather a return to the essential, to what truly contributes to a full life without excess. Financially, this may mean reevaluating our spending habits and reducing unnecessary expenses. We often buy things on impulse, motivated by advertising campaigns or social pressure, believing these acquisitions will bring us happiness or status. However, by adopting a detachment mindset, we can question the real need for each purchase and more consciously choose what will truly add value to our lives. Detachment encourages us to stop and reflect. Do I need this for my happiness, or is it just a momentary distraction? This process can lead to a change in purchasing behavior and help avoid impulsive spending, one of the main villains of personal finance. For example, when shopping, we can ask ourselves if we really need a new item, or if we can live with what we already have. This reflection on real needs also helps us adopt a mindset of sufficiency, which means being satisfied with what we have and not being a slave to the incessant search for more. This can lead us to reduce our fixed costs, not constantly seeking ways to increase our material possessions, and lead a simpler and more balanced lifestyle. In short, the practice of detachment helps us discern what truly brings value and well-being to our lives, and encourages us to live more economically and with fewer material desires. By focusing on the essentials, our personal finances become more balanced, and the pressure to consume diminishes considerably, allowing us to allocate resources more effectively and satisfactorily. Unbridled consumerism is one of the biggest pitfalls of modern society and has a profound impact on personal finances. The social pressure to always have more, whether through new clothes, gadgets, cars, or experiences, leads us to believe that happiness and success are directly linked to material possessions. Detachment, in turn, offers us an alternative to this vicious cycle, helping us live more consciously and free from the incessant pursuit of material goods. The Stoics already knew that consumerism leads to constant dissatisfaction. They teach us to focus on what we can control and to gratefully accept what we already have, without falling into the illusion that more will always bring us happiness. Epictetus, for example, said, "Happiness does not depend on external circumstances, but on how we respond to them." This philosophy can be directly applied to consumerism. When we base our happiness on objects or social comparisons, we are slaves to desire and marketing. By adopting the philosophy of detachment, we can avoid this trap. Instead of spending money on things we don't need or that have fleeting value, we can invest in meaningful experiences or assets that truly provide long-term value, such as learning and education. By stopping constantly seeking approval from others through material possessions, we can free up our focus and energy for other areas of life that truly bring us satisfaction. Furthermore, detachment teaches us to recognize that excessive consumption is often motivated by negative emotions such as insecurity or a desire to belong. Many people buy things to fill an emotional void or to impress others. Detachment helps us identify and understand these motivations, allowing us to seek healthier, more balanced solutions to our emotional needs. Instead of using money as a substitute for happiness, we can seek more lasting and authentic forms of satisfaction, such as personal development, strengthening social relationships, and connecting with our own passions. Avoiding the consumerism trap can also be a great ally in controlling our spending. By reducing the number of impulse purchases, we can direct our money towards smarter investments, such as a well-structured savings account, long-term investments, or even stocks that bring us closer to our life goals. Ultimately, detachment teaches us to live more fully and consciously, without the pressure to consume more and more. By focusing on what truly matters, we can manage our personal finances more wisely, avoiding the pitfalls of consumerism and external expectations. True financial freedom comes from the ability to say no to the constant desire for more and focus on what truly contributes to our long-term happiness and well-being. Financial control is one of the areas most affected by Stoic philosophy, especially regarding internal control versus the pursuit of external control. In Stoic philosophy, what we can control are our reactions, attitudes, and choices, while what is beyond our control, such as the economy, politics, or the actions of others, should not be a cause for suffering or excessive worry. This view can have a significant impact on personal finances, as we are often influenced by external factors beyond our control, such as economic crises, fluctuations in the financial market, and other people's decisions. Instead of worrying about what we can't control, Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can change, our choices and actions. For example, we may not control interest rates or inflation, but we can control how we manage our budget, how we invest, and how we prepare for the future. Detachment helps us avoid being overwhelmed by anxiety caused by external factors, maintaining calm, and focusing on practical solutions for our financial situation. This implies a more rational, less emotional approach to finances. Instead of making financial decisions based on fear, impulsivity, or momentary desires, detachment invites us to make choices based on reason, discipline, and long-term planning. For example, in times of economic crisis, the natural tendency may be to panic or adopt a scarcity mindset. However, by adopting a detached mindset, we can see this crisis as an opportunity to learn, adjust our finances, and strengthen our resilience without it affecting our peace of mind. Furthermore, detachment helps us deal with financial losses more calmly. If we experience an investment loss or a reduction in income, Stoic detachment teaches us not to react with despair. Instead, we should accept loss as a part of life and use it as an opportunity to grow and adjust our financial strategy. The inner peace that comes from detachment allows us to make clearer financial decisions based on reason rather than impulsive or fear-driven ones. Ultimately, by focusing on internal control rather than external circumstances, we gain greater emotional and financial freedom. Detachment teaches us to make informed financial decisions based on what we can control, without getting caught up in the chaos of the outside world. This helps us stay focused on our long-term financial goals, undisturbed by the temporary fluctuations of life and the economy. Throughout this video, we explore how detachment, one of the pillars of Stoic philosophy, can profoundly transform our financial lives. The Stoic vision teaches us that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the ability to live a balanced, wise life, focused on what truly matters. By practicing detachment, we begin to realize that the relentless pursuit of more money and material possessions does not bring lasting happiness, but rather a continuous cycle of dissatisfaction and anxiety. First, we learn to reflect on our real needs, differentiating between what truly adds value to our lives and what is simply a passing desire. Detachment allows us to consume more consciously, avoiding excesses and the pitfalls of consumerism, which often lead us to spend beyond our means and compromise our financial well-being. By focusing on the essentials, we can adopt a simpler and more economical lifestyle, which gives us greater freedom and control over our finances. Furthermore, detachment teaches us not to be dominated by external circumstances, such as economic crises or fluctuations in the financial market. By focusing on what we can control, our attitudes, choices, and financial decisions, we can deal with adversity more calmly and rationally. This approach allows us to make smarter, less impulsive decisions that are more aligned with our values and life goals. Finally, by adopting the Stoic mindset of detachment, we can transform our relationship with money, creating a balance between material wealth and inner wealth. Detachment doesn't prevent us from prospering financially, but it helps us achieve more sustainable and harmonious success, where material possessions are no longer the center of our happiness. Instead, we focus on developing virtues like wisdom, temperance, and justice, which provide us with lasting inner peace and help us make more balanced and healthy financial decisions. In short, Stoic detachment offers a powerful tool for improving our financial lives. By reducing our attachment to money and material things, we can live more peacefully, achieve our financial goals more effectively, and, most importantly, cultivate a fuller and more meaningful life. True financial freedom, as Stoic philosophy teaches us, lies not in how much we own, but in how we relate to what we have and what truly matters. If this content helped you, please like and subscribe. Share it with those who might also benefit from this insight. And don't forget to leave a comment about how letting go can transform your financial life. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.